Hi everybody, Levi Clay here, and I'm back again for another guitar lesson. This time I'm going to give you the most important lesson that you might have never had. Now, I've been teaching for the best part of 15 years now, and time again I meet people that have been playing for a very long time but don't have the fundamentals of their picking technique down. Now, I don't consider myself to be a world-class alternate picker, but I have enough skills to get by, and there's consistency in my alternate picking. Now, this week I was having a discussion with one of my patrons over on patreon.com, check us out in the link below, and he was talking to me about playing the song Chromosome by Mike Stern. Now, I gave the guys in my group, Patreon group, a transcription of Chromosome, and he had come back to me and asked how I was picking certain bits of it. And that seemed very strange to me, because to me it's very obvious, but evidently I'd not explained, and most people don't have this explained to them. So my student came back to me and said, "Are you using strict alternate picking when you're doing this?" And it didn't occur to me that my understanding of strict alternate picking and his understanding of strict alternate picking were actually slightly different concepts. To him, strict alternate picking meant if you play a downstroke, the next stroke you play will always, no matter what happens, be an upstroke. And I can see where that confusion might come from. But in reality, that's not always going to be the most practical way of doing things, and it's certainly not what I personally would call strict alternate picking. Now, of course, that makes sense if you have a long run of 16th notes, like, well, the example on screen now. If you're going to play that, you're going to use alternate picking, and every note will be down followed by up. But here's something a little bit more sparse, something with a little bit more space in it. How are you going to play that? Now, the way I like to describe this to students is using the same revelation that they have when it comes to strumming the guitar. I'm not even going to turn my volume up for this, but most people come to a stage in their guitar playing life where they choose to imitate a strummed acoustic guitar part. And it could be anything. It could be now, when I play that rhythm, I think most inexperienced players still pick up the gist of that rhythm. It's just a rough approximation of what's happening there. Now, if I try and do that with, strict alternate picking, strict alternate strumming, the way most young, inexperienced players would do it, it's going to sound like this, right? Now, why doesn't that sound right? And the reason that doesn't sound right is because there's no constant motion in this hand. When you play down and then wait to have to play up, you've lost the sense of groove that you had in your picking hand. So my principle for alternate picking is consistent movement in the hand, even when I'm not picking a string. So if I play a riff like this, like the one on screen, now, if you analyse that, here it is again with pick strokes on it, what you'll notice is it doesn't go down, up, down, up. There's down, up, there's down, up, there's down, up, down, up, down, up, but then the next stroke is another upstroke. And that's because there was a rest before that. So my hand continued down where you would expect a downstroke to be, didn't play the string, and then hit that note on the upstroke. That means when I play a groove like that, no matter the speed, everything's going to be in time, apart from at the end there where I played a downstroke and everything felt slightly out of time. So I'm going to give you an exercise to work on for this. On screen now, what you'll see is a simple descending pentatonic scale. Da ba da ba da ba dum, bum 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 bum. My pitching's terrible, of course, but notes, I'm just going to play these all the downstrokes just so you can hear them. Now, if you were to play that using this fake strict alternate picking thing, where you went down, up, 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 down, it's going to look and sound like this. Now I find that very difficult to do because when I get to the end of that pattern, I have to then come back over here and wait until I need to play that next upstroke. And I don't feel that's the best way to do this. The best way to do this is indicated on screen now, where we have down, up, down, up, down, up, down. And then, you know, I'm moving my hand up while I move across ready to play the next note. Watch that in slow motion. Helps if you pick the note. Now that constant motion in the picking hand keeps me going during a passage like that. And you could play anything, you know, when I'm improvising and I'm going. It's in there somewhere. Some nonsense in there, lots of repetition. Anyway, the constant picking motion is what keeps me in time, and actually the only thing that kind of pulls me away from being in a good time is when my hand stops, because I have kind of traces of economy picking in my playing. Discussion for a whole nother day, but yeah, hopefully you get the idea. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to play another example for you. This one is on screen now. Now before you play it, just look at the rhythm. I'm staring at the rhythm to it too. We've got a 16th note, 8th note, 16th note tied into another 16th note followed by 3 16th notes. So that would give us da 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 da. Now if you try and play that using strict down, up, down, everything's going to get thrown out of whack. If I just play those first 3 notes for you, that will sound like this. Sorry. It's very difficult for me to not do it the correct way. I'll really concentrate here, Levi. Do it wrong. When I'm doing that, I'm having to concentrate on playing it the wrong way, as I say. And the reason that doesn't work for me is because there's a lack of groove when I do that. I want to really lock in to the pulse and not have to think about what I'm actually playing. And this is really the point of this lesson. As you develop your alternate picking technique, you're going to move into realms where you're playing things that are maybe quite new and fresh to you, but you don't want to have to think about, you know, oh, is it a downstroke next? Is it an upstroke next? I just want the picking hand to keep moving. So if I play that same rhythm, with a strumming motion, you'd have this, right? 3, 4, Try again. 3, 4. Now I'm sure most of you could strum that no problem, but when it comes to alternate picking it, refining that technique, it becomes a little bit harder, but this is an important mechanic to work on. So it's going to sound like this, and here it is on screen, and you can see that I've put rests in the notation. I'm still going to hold the notes across. I just needed something to be there so I could have a pick stroke in a bracket. So it's going to sound like this: 3, 4, and you'll notice I count in. When I count in, I get my hand moving. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now, does a technique like this apply to high-level alternate picking? It depends on the style, to be honest. If you're talking like shred and high-level rock technique, a lot of that tends to be what I call pattern picking, where you have these whipping mechanics, you know, your Paul Gilberts, your... There's some notes in there somewhere, or at least there used to be. That doesn't feel like I'm playing 6 notes when I do that. At least this pattern of 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. that actually feels like those 6 notes group into one. Troy Grady obviously calls that chunking. So that's a slightly different thing. But when it comes to, you know, high-level jazz or fusion playing, if you look at players like Mike Stern or Pat Metheny or Pat Martino, you're going to see this just good, fast motion in the hand, and it never stops. It's the same when you look at bluegrass players. If you look at great bluegrass mandolin players, they're some of the best pickers you're ever going to see because their instrument has no sustain. You'll just see this motion in the hand. No matter what they play, it just moves up and down and down and up, and they're just over it. It's, you know, it's fabulous to look at. So what I've written for you now is 4 exercises / licks. One inspired by Paul Gilbert, and one of them inspired by kind of Mike Stern and that jazz fusion vocabulary. I'm going to cut away and play each one to a click track for you, both fast and slow, and then I'm going to come back and break them down for you. So here's the first one. So as I say, this one was inspired by Paul Gilbert. Now, it doesn't really sound like Paul Gilbert, I appreciate that, but it's kind of his Intense Rock 2, where he plays a cool sequence of 9s, a 7. It could be, it's been a long time since I've watched that video, but it was really about shifting positions. So if I play this phrase slowly for you. And when I do that, this hand keeps moving, and it would be worth you going back to the clip of me playing them fast and slow and really paying attention to the hand motion. Ignore the notes. You could even turn the sound off. That will work absolutely fine. And just when I'm playing them slow, watch how this hand just stays constant in motion. That movement, that down, up, is what helps to keep me in time and helps me to groove. So in order to learn this, it's really an 8-note phrase that repeats in different positions. I'm going to teach you one position, and then you can go back and look at the tab and break this one down and learn each position. And really, you could or should be able to move this around the neck in any position, in any key, when you're comfortable with it. So the first mechanic involves playing 4 notes. I do this all the time, actually. Now you'll notice I'm picking that 5th note there. And here's the skill. The skill is playing down, up, and then pulling off. When you do that pull off, you want to continue downwards with your hand though and not pluck the string. So. Whoops. And we have a similar mechanic in the second beat where we've just pulled off to this note on the 10th fret. So we're then going to play up on the G, down on the B, up on the B again, B string I'm talking, and then that note slides and I have to downstroke but not play the note. So I just want to play the first, I guess it would be 9 notes, and I want you to really look at my picking hand when I do that. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4. It's a bit sloppy there. For some reason I should be able to do that. Yeah, and really I'm then taking that mechanic and just moving it through different positions. Now you can pick any key, you know, I could do this in A minor. which is what I was working in, or I could work out of like A Dorian. You go. Tons of things you can do with it. So simple mechanic that wants practicing, and really what you're focusing on here is being able to pick a note, usually on an upstroke, and then slide or hammer on to another note and keep that hand moving down. That's really the secret here. Constant motion in the hand. So get on with that one, then come back and here is another one for you to work on. It sounds like this. So there you go. Now there's only a couple of notes that you're not picking here, but it is important. And that's really the key detail. I wanted to just have a couple of them so you could really focus on keeping the motion solid in the hand. So this is a 2-5-1 lick, sounds like this when played slow, right? Now I like ideas like this because there's some string skipping involved, right? And that's a big trademark of any bebop players. They tend to be good at this, and also bluegrass players. So two styles that I'm very fond of. So just working on that first part, right? I'm just counting in 1, 2, 3, 4. Then we have my favourite picking mechanic, which is pick, pick, pull off, pick. Down, up, pull off, up. Down, up, pull off, up. Now notice that hand keeps moving. Down, up, pull off, up. 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 I put that after the previous lick. Just practice that. Now when you're comfortable with that, go back to try and using what you might call strict alternate picking. Down, up, down, up, down, up. I can't even process it. Down, up, down, up, down, up. Down, up, down, up, down, up. I'd pull off and then play down on that last note, right? And when you do that, you're having to rest the hand up here, you're waiting for that next stroke to come in. It's a very unnatural feeling. And you might be able to practice this one lick and get this one idea down, but long term, are you going to be able to use this fluidly when improvising? So from there, second part, same basic idea. 4 notes picked, then we have pick, pick, pull off, pick. Not too tricky, or tricky, depending on how good your alternate picking is. And then finally, so we've got pick, pick, and then you've got a pick, pick, pull off, pick, which I do a lot. Pick, pick, slide. So there's that lick for you. Right, here's another one. This one's a little bit more kind of John Scofield-esque, but maybe with a bit of Andy James mixed in. Sounds like this. So I love licks like this. It combines lots of pull-offs, a fluid blend of pick notes and pulled notes. It gives you a nice kind of bouncy, bubbly sound, interesting dynamics. So I'll play it slowly for you. It sounds like this. You see that constant motion, right? So no thought really goes into this picking hand. And this one is really about practicing those, you know, upstrokes followed by a downstroke that you're not picking. So that's down, up, pull off, up, pull off, up. This is actually one of the, you know, primary reasons why I think, you know, guys that teach you, here's a lick, and I start this one with an upstroke. I can't work ideas like that into my playing. Obviously it works for them. Guys like Andy James, phenomenal players, much better pickers and players, so who am I to criticize what they do? But for the way I play and for the way I teach and for the kinds of players that I play with and the kinds of guys that I teach that are more kind of working professional guitar players, or what you might call weekend warriors, guys that play a little bit but they have full-time jobs, and they just like to, you know, unwind at the weekend and play some blues and stuff like that. You know, that high-level technique stuff is not really their cup of tea, whereas this is more consistent, helps with your groove, and that's really the point, right? So everything for me, you know, if it begins on a downbeat, plays with a downstroke. If it begins on an upbeat, it begins with an upstroke. Consistency in that alternate picking hand, strict alternate picking. So I want to play this one more time for you, really slow. You don't need me to do this, the tabs are there for you. So it's going to sound like this. Like that. So anyway, here's the final lick. Now every single note in this one is picked, but that's okay. It's going to be a challenge. Sounds like this. So yeah, as I said, every note in that one is picked. It's certainly a tricky one to play. There's lots of position shifts, but hopefully it's moving you into the land of being able to do this stuff confidently. Now, you should feel this motion in the hand where it's constant. It's a little pumping machine that keeps you in time. Sounds like this. Now, if I just continued from there, 3, 4. I fell out there. But that consistency of motion in the hand is what's going to keep everything going when you're doing the old... consistency of picking motion. That's Tower of Power for anyone that's interested. So I'm not going to break that lick down, not the Tower of Power one, but the lick that I play fast and slow, because you don't need me to. Again, the tab is there. I just want you to focus on that consistency of motion. Now, to close things up, one more time, I'm going to put this image on screen. Now, this one was a daunting one. How the hell are we going to play this? Now, I can do this without problem because I can see the first note is on the final 16th note of the beat 1, so it's going to be played with an upstroke. Then the next two notes are on the 2nd and 4th 16th notes of beat 4, so they're going to both be played with upstrokes. And then in the next bar, you've got 2 beats of silence, then 2 notes played on beats 1 and 2 of, the 1st and 2nd 16th note of beat 3, and then the same thing on the 1st and 2nd 16th note of beat 4. So that sounds like a lot, right? But if I put it on screen again with rests and alternate picking strokes in there to show you how you would play this with strict alternate picking or strict alternate motion, if you like, that looks like this. And it sounds like this, and it's not too tricky when you know how it's done. So 1, 2, 3, 4. My pulse. 1, 2, 3, 4. Apparently I didn't have enough volume there. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now you can see that motion in the hand, right? It keeps me solid. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that's really important, having that consistency of motion, because the consistency of motion is what helps me be rigidly in time. If you try and play that same rhythm with, you know, just down and up, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know, I don't know how in time that was. It certainly didn't feel in time, and I wouldn't be able to lock in with a drummer and do that. It's a lot of, you know, stop and start and anticipation. Anyway, hopefully that was useful to you guys. So finally, I just want to say a huge thank you to my supporters over on patreon.com. That's these guys over here. They bring you these lessons. Their support means that you get to enjoy these free videos. So thank you very much, guys. Your support is so appreciated. And if you would like to join them, you get lots of cool stuff for being a patron of mine. Access to my private patron-only Facebook group for as little as $1, actually. Transcription challenges, names in the credits and stuff like that. And actually today, this evening, for my $20 plus guys, we've got a private live stream where I'm going through this book. I'm gonna, you know, do what I call a study club stream, where I'm going to go through the book and read it and talk about the examples in it and say what I like about it, what I don't like about it, and how I adapt the things that I like into my own practice routine, so those guys can learn how to practice the way I practice. Yeah, anyway, it's me getting sidetracked really, isn't it? So if you would like to check us out on Patreon, you can do so by clicking let's go here, this button up here. You can subscribe by clicking this button down here, and you'll see 2 more of my videos here and here. Thank you so much for all the support, guys. If you have any questions whatsoever, please do let me know in that comments box below. And yeah, I will see you for another video soon, or maybe I'll see you on the study club later. There's still time. Laters.